Hey, this is Coach Atley from the Jefferson Bluejays, and you're watching the Knuckleball Prime Time.
Hi, and welcome to the Knuckleball Prime Time live from the Barn Studio. You got the Mocs here, and I'm joined online right now with Coach Atley of the Jefferson Bluejays. Coach, how are you?
Good. How are you, sir?
Doing really good. Thanks for joining us. I know it's a busy time for you. We're into week 2 already. The season has kicked off. You guys had a dominant first week of the high school football season. What were the takeaways from that win?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaways were there's some things we really focused on this offseason and we made it a priority. And it was exciting to see our kids come out and kind of execute those things. And, we knew we needed to be better with the fundamentals when it came to blocking and especially tackling on the defensive side of the ball. And we just needed to play with a different type of physicality. And that was something that I felt like our kids embraced. We also scored in all 3 facets of the game. So, it's always good to have a win like that, especially to start out the year. We're appreciative we were able to come away with that one.
I know it sounded like in the summertime you weren't too certain who would be QB1, but it looks like Cooper Frisk, number 9, is going to play the part, at least he did for week 1. But I will say he played a lot of positions in week 1. Even I think he caught a reception as well. And we talked to Coach Schweiss earlier with Central Rebels, and he said, yeah, you have to key in on him. You have to know where he's at all times because he plays offense, defense, and he plays a big part in special teams as well.
Yeah, we're fortunate. We have a special talent in that young man, and he's came such a long way, and he's grown so much. We're appreciative to have a kid like that. And, we're also appreciative that we got a sophomore in Sam Kerley who's been able to get some reps and step in for us and allowed us to do a couple different things. I think high school football, sometimes people make overcomplicated and we got to get the ball in our best athletes' hands. And Cooper's definitely one of them. Sometimes we can do that a little bit better with someone at the quarterback, different at the quarterback position. We just use him in as many ways as we know how. And typically he makes us look good.
That's always a good thing, right? To make the coaches look good.
For sure.
I will say he scored both with his arm and his legs, and the only mark on his record for week 1 was a tipped interception, which didn't really look like it was much of his doing. So I would say for week 1, especially coming out and having that quarterback battle in the summertime, you have to be impressed and excited about the future with him.
For sure, and it really wasn't a bad ball on the interception that happened. I think it was just a little bit of a confusion as to who the ball was going to. A little bit of splits may have been an issue with the wide receivers and things like that. And realistically, I think his stats were probably skewed because our defense had such a big night that there's a lot of short fields. Special teams touchdown, defensive fumble recovery touchdown. Obviously took away some stats from there as well, but nevertheless, he had a strong start to the year, and we're excited to see where he goes.
I know coaches don't like to tip their hand in, especially when you're playing a team that can be as good as Central. But can you expect more Sam at quarterback at times? Is there certain packages where we might see him taking snaps?
Well, I mean, it's always the option. I'll leave it at that. But I mean, he. We have some good things in play right now, and I think a couple good ideas of where we want people to be at. And we're just going to put our kids in the best possible position for success. And, I know we have a very physical team. Park Hill is coming up, a well-coached team, always well-coached, and Coach Schweiss and Coach do a great job with those kids. So we need to make sure we're ready to go. But, I mean, there's always going to be – we're just thankful we have 2 good kids we can rely on at the QB position.
You mentioned the defense, and I was particularly impressed with the Crader brothers. And I know they play both sides of the ball, but on defense, it seems like they find the run-through windows really well. And I know you guys often play an odd front that kind of allows for, some walk-up and some different variations that might give an offensive line, difficulty is who do I have in this configuration? Because, with an even front, it seems like you get typically a shade or you have a little bit more expectation of what you're going to get. An odd front kind of allows for more flexibility. Talk about the Crader brothers, if you don't mind, and especially their role on defense.
Sure, yeah. I mean, they play a lot on the same side, which kind of puts them in a good spot to have some plays together and going through doing stats. There's about 3 or 4 different plays in the backfield where I'm like, well, who gets the tackle for loss this time and who gets the tackle for loss that time? They just kind of got to split it up between them. But they've came such a long way. I know Brandon was kind of battling a leg injury throughout the offseason, a soft tissue issue, and he's did a great job in recovery, and he's really been flying around. He started at outside linebacker for us most of the year last year. But it was really a development year for him as a sophomore, and he's really came on strong as a junior, and we're excited to see what he continues to do. And, Tyler he's been getting substantial playing time since his freshman year. His first varsity game was against Fredericktown as a freshman, and he got thrown into the fire almost immediately per se. And he did not great, but that experience obviously kind of developed who he is and grew him to this spot now. And they're fortunate. They have some good players on the defensive line that can make their job a little bit easy too.
Yeah, let's talk about that. 52, Troy Jefferson. He's a man in the middle, right? Had a nice game and really, you guys came out very strong. It was, I don't know what the score was at halftime, but you had a substantial lead. But he was a big key in that. I think he had 2 sacks, maybe ended up with 2 sacks, a lot of tackles. He looked really good week 1.
Yeah, I think he had 2 sacks, at least 2 tackles for loss, maybe 3. He's just a fun kid because he has developed so much. And from where he was as a sophomore, we're like, man, if this kid could just figure it out, he would be something. And then as a junior, we were like, he may have figured it out. And then, this summer, we're like, he's really figured it out. And he's good. We went to a couple contact camps and played against some good competition. And I don't think we've seen anyone yet that he hasn't been able to make plays against. And we hope that trend can keep going. And, Aiden Allen right next to him, he didn't get the stats, but gosh dang, he's a 450-pound bencher and a 700-pound squatter. So, he's a very powerful, very explosive kid, and he demands a double, triple team every time, which kind of frees Troy up a little bit, and the Crader brothers to fly around and have a little fun. So we have some good dudes on that side of the ball that have really been helping.
Week 1 was a success for you guys. Also a dominant win for Central. In those dominant wins, I don't think as a coach, you really get to see what your opponent is capable of. Have you seen the film on Central, and what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, we've spent some time on it. They got athletes. We know who number 11 is. He ran all over us last year. I don't know if he had 3 or 4 touchdowns. We went into that game knowing we needed to stop Jackson Jones. And I actually thought we did a decent job against stopping Jackson Jones in the run game. It was 11, and I think 30 was the other one who really caused us problems last year. So we got to make sure we know where some of those guys are. I know their running back is he's a pretty physical runner. He finds the hole and he goes. He can definitely be a problem. They have a line who has no problem getting off the ball and really putting it to you. So, I think it's going to be a game of hopefully 2 good physical football teams, and we're just going to have to see who's standing at the end.
Again, we talked to Coach Schweiss earlier today, and he said he thought Central was at their best at week 2. That was their best game of the entire year. And we were at that game, watching them week 1 of last year, which was a weird, I don't know if you remember, there was weather and all that. It was kind of a weird thing. And then week 2, they looked really good. It almost looked like the tale of 2 tapes. And Central can kind of be like that sometimes. Sometimes they look very, very elite, and then sometimes, I don't know, maybe they don't. And I know it's hard to prepare for everything, but you mentioned 11, Karis Foster, he's big playmaker ability. I'm sure there's adjustments that you will need to make, maybe in-game or pre-game, to account for him.
Yeah, for sure. You got to know where the best players are on the field, and he's definitely one of them. I wish he was the only one, but he's not. They have a couple kids who can hurt you on the offensive side. And, we've been working on kind of, especially knowing where 11 is, and hopefully that pays off dividends in the long run. But, again, we'll see. I think it's going to be a great high school football game. I'm excited for it. I think our kids, they realized that last year they just showed at times that they for sure should have been in that game, and even kind of started making a push there early in the second half, and just kind of the wheels fell off, and then we just never got anything started back up again. And I think our kids are excited for the opportunity at hand, and it should be fun. I'm excited.
Talk about some of your leaders on this Jefferson team.
Well, I mean, I think you got to start with Cooper Frisk. I mean, it always starts there at the quarterback position, and he's, I'll say it. I don't think he's always been the best leader. And, he and I have spent a lot of time, and not just him, our other coaches have spent a lot of time with him and kind of where he's at. He's came such a long way, and he's became such an integral part of what we're doing, not just on offense, but in everything. We kind of flow through him a bit. It's funny, we're kind of talking about those people, and those people we talked about are our leaders right now. And Troy Jefferson is another one. He's, almost voted, or was our one captain who was unanimously voted by the entire team as captain. And, he's not the most vocal, but everything he does is everything he has. And it's showing why he is where he is. Aiden Allen was another one who's really stepped up. Tyler Crader, Gavin Green have been huge for us in that position. Aiden Nussery has really kind of stepped in as our main vocal leader, I would say. And he's kind of been there the whole time. He's just a high energy, positive guy. And what I love about this group of seniors is they're unselfish to the point where they're bringing the others with them. They're still encouraging the juniors to lead, which, a lot of senior groups we've had in the past aren't necessarily about that. And they are. And, that's kind of the legacy they hopefully lead and continue to grow as we move forward throughout the years here at Jefferson.
You mentioned Noah Bueller earlier. He had a nice, 30-something yard touchdown pretty early in the game. What does his playmaking ability add to your passing game and the threat of a deeper ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think he had a couple nice catches last year against Central during that game. And, he's not the fastest. He's not the quickest. I think he's a pretty good route runner. He had it's funny, the last 2 summers, he's been like, man, he really is struggling to catch the ball. And then we get into the games and he makes a lot of pretty difficult catches. Even that touchdown, there was a hand, I think he got tipped and he still managed to come down with it on that deep ball. So, anytime you have a kid that you can go vertical with and you can feel confident that he's going to come down with it, it's a good feeling. I think we saw him week 1, but I also feel good. We have a couple other kids who can do that same thing. And so it's exciting to think about the possibilities with this group.
You talk about him having success early. How important is it for you guys and for the players specifically to have early success?
I think that always helps. You get the ball rolling, you keep the ball rolling is always better than trying to restart it after you get stopped. I think both teams are, I don't think it's any secret. We do throw the ball at times, but we would prefer to run the ball if we can. And I know they're the same way. They prefer to throw the ball if they can. And, to me, that's what it's going to come down to is who's going to be the most sure tackling team and who's going to be willing or be able to run on command. Because, when you're able to run on command, those deep shots aren't so much luck anymore because you got people creeping up to get extra players in the box. So I think it's going to be pretty important. And, I think the overall lay of the game is going to come down to who's able to run it.
Joined here with Coach Atley of the Jefferson Bluejays. This is the Knuckleball Prime Time in conjunction with Parkland Sports Live, brought to you as always by The Barn. We're going to be on the call this Friday. Central Rebels at Jefferson R7, Parkland Sports Live with Chad Speaker, Mike Reeves, and Coach Stolzer. And you can catch the live broadcast on the Parkland Podcast Facebook page and the Barn YouTube channel. What do you hope that the fans and everybody in attendance take away from the game on Friday?
Oh, I don't know. I just hope everyone comes out and supports, 2 good programs and we get a good football game and, we get to enjoy Friday Night Lights being back more than anything. So I know I am.
And how about this weather too, right?
For sure.
So far, no cramping issues, nothing like that. No crazy storms like last year. So, yeah, I think it's enjoyable Friday nights, and it's nice to get back out under the lights.
Absolutely. Better knock on something. Hope you didn't jinx it.
Talk about the fan support and your community for the supporting the Jefferson Bluejays.
Yeah, I mean, I think our community is all really close, really tight. We have, Mama J's who put the food pregame meals together for our boys. They, we have a Thursday night team dinner every week, and we couldn't be any more lucky with the support we have from our community because I feel like everyone's all in. If anything is needed, I can just send a text message, and I know I have a group of moms that will come running at the first thing we need. That's huge. That takes a lot of our plate, and it really helps us in the long run. So, our community is great. The amount of kids who come out and support the games. I mean, I know this is the third week of school, but even before, when we were still in the PD days, kids were talking about how excited they were for Friday night football games and to be back there in the stands. So, I mean, we got a great community. We got a great support staff and support system around us, and we just couldn't be any more lucky.
Lastly, Coach, tell us a little bit about your staff, if you don't mind. I'd like to give those guys a little shout out.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll start with our OC, and that's Mike Lloyd. He's been with us now since the 2020 season. The 2019 season was his first year here. He came on kind of as a wide receivers position coach and
old Farmington guy, right?
Hillsborough guy. He was in Farmington though.
Yeah.
He is a Hillsborough guy. And he's been around, and he's one of my good buddies and one of my good friends. I'm glad to have him on staff. He does a great job with what we need. Jeff Dressy came to us from North County this offseason, and he's been working with our defensive line and really getting those guys playing fast and also helping me with the offensive line. Coach Fidel is going in on his third year with us with the inside linebackers. And also he's with running backs. And he is growing by the day, which is fun to see, and has really become a really good coach and someone we can really count on. And then the other one is Coach Brandon Perry in his second year, who was a former Blue Jay and is alumni back, coaching wide receivers for us and also working with the DBs with myself. And he does a phenomenal job with things he does also. So those are really our 5 full-time coaches. We have volunteer and Coach Childs who helps give us eyes from the box, who's always there on Friday nights for us. And he's been with us now for, I guess, 11, 12 years. So, we got a good crew. We're thankful for all of them. And, I don't know where we'd be without them.
Coach Atley of the Jefferson Bluejays, Knuckleball Prime Time in conjunction with Parkland Sports Live, brought to you as always by The Barn. You can catch our live broadcast on the Parkland Podcast Facebook page and the Barn YouTube channel. Central Rebels at Jefferson Bluejays. And Coach, we'll see you Friday night, and good luck.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.